There will be a couple of new Johnny-come-lately candidates, not only in our state, but also our federal election. There's been a huge push for independents to stand during this election, and they've been successful in, well, many mainly Liberal-held seats like Warringah with Zali Steggall. There's a big Voices of campaign that's been going around Australia, and it's also one that's happening right here in Adelaide. Voices of Boothby. Now, the Voices of Boothby are going to nominate a candidate for a state seat, the state seat of Waite, and also the federal seat of Boothby. Now, they've been having kitchen table conferences where they've been getting together like-minded people to discuss what sort of issues they'll campaign on. Now, they've got announcements to make on both fronts, and I'm joined now by their spokesperson, who is appropriately named John. John Denley. Welcome back, John.
Okay, Jules.
Okay, so let's get to who you've announced to run for Waite in the state election, John.
Sure. It's worth clarifying that we're not announcing that we're endorsing them. The endorsement we're doing is because these candidates align with what our community have told us that they're looking for. So at the state level, we're really pleased to endorse Dr. Heather Holmes-Ross as an independent candidate for the seat of Waite in the southern suburbs of Adelaide.
Right. So former mayor, I think she's got a business in the area, and she's presided over a pretty divided council there at Mitcham. Certainly covered a few of their issues, John. What qualities does the Voices in Boothby like about Dr. Heather Holmes-Ross?
Well, and in a way, it's us reflecting what we've heard in our kitchen table conversations. And it wasn't just like-minded people that we were reaching out to. We were trying to listen to what the views across our electorate were, and they were wanting some people just with more integrity. And just the values, but also some priorities on things like climate change. And we're seeing those in the platforms and also in Dr. Holmes-Ross, her performance as mayor, where she's improved democracy and she's brought a divided council together. And this is the stuff we'd like to see in our candidates going forward.
It's going to be a hard-fought campaign in Waite, John. I mean, you've got Alex Hyde, you've got Sam DeLuc, and now you've got Dr. Heather Holmes-Ross. I mean, it's a pretty crowded field. Are you confident you'll have a hope?
It's more the case that we're excited that the community have choice. And in fact, as I was mentioning, the Voices group is not running these campaigns, so we wish their campaigns well. But we are really excited that the people at our state level and at our federal, when they go to vote, they'll have the choice of an independent who could actually represent them, not a party, and not all the negative politics that are really annoying people so much.
When will you announce your candidate for Boothby, John?
That's only a week away. We are really, really excited about this. We've heard that the candidate will be launching next week. And once again, this is a person that, and to talk about the Johnny Comes Lately, the exciting thing as well is these are both women who are entering our political area, and at the federal level, they're joining 10 other independents across the country.
Has this woman held office before that you'll announce for Boothby?
I'll leave them to announce all their details. I don't think we can play Guess Who because it's only a week away, and they will tell us. But the exciting thing is across the country, women from a range of experiences are stepping forward to say that we want to present a new form of politics. We want to do it differently. Visiting
your website, John, there's a lot of local issues that you've listed as being important for the people who support the Voices of Boothby movement. Does that mean you feel that candidates in Boothby have not prioritised local issues in the past?
I think that the difficulty... Well, there have been local issues, but often it's centred around the pork barrelling, and it's not, so stuff happens locally, but is it the best? Is it where the real needs are? Is it really reflecting what the community needs as opposed to where the marginal seat is or, where the place to buy the votes is? I think that's part of the frustration that we've heard. So yes, an independent who doesn't have to run that sort of pork barreling game. Could actually be more responsive to what the community needs.
When you start to campaign, not you or your candidate starts to campaign, people are going to ask, are they more conservative or are they more progressive? And I know that's a label, but it's an important label for people who are going to vote. So where do you think they'll fall, on the progressive side or the conservative side?
Once again, I'll let them speak for them, but that's the old politics as well, which is every 3 or 4 years we get one chance and we have a vote and we cross our fingers. Where what I've seen in Indi, for example, where they do have a community independent, Helen Haynes, she's much more engaged with the community. I even, just as an interested party, attended a Zoom meeting where she wanted to hear from people how her integrity bill should be designed. And so that's no longer about what's the values of this individual. It's how well can they tap into the values of their community that matters.
I mean, do the Voices of Boothby say, would they like to see, say, the amount of job seeker raised? I mean, that's kind of there are some people who think you make job seeker too much and it dissuades people from working, and more progressive people are saying you increase job seeker. Obviously, you get people off the poverty line and more money goes into the economy. So there's two views about these kind of issues. Where would you sit?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good one to raise, because at our kitchen table conversations, people were telling us that social equity is really important, and that aligns with what we're getting from polling. And it's just interesting that ACOS only recently did a survey in Boothby and found that 70% of Boothby voters consider the rate of job seeker too low.
So you would campaign to raise it, John?
Well, once again, it's not Voices of Boothby campaigning.
Yes, well, your candidate.
But I'm just relaying what the community is saying through our kitchen table conversations and also through recent pollings. And we want we want all politicians to take note of what the community is saying, which just hasn't happened to date.
Climate change. Do you think that reducing emissions is going fast enough? Would you like to see greening of Adelaide? Would you like to see a faster cut to emissions? Where do you sit on climate change, John?
Well, once again, our community is saying they want much more action on that. And that's a really constant theme, and it's a really constant principle that each of the community independents across the country is taking. And that is because that's where our community's at, and we're so frustrated at how poor the response
John, if the community does want that, why have they elected Liberal representatives who have had a more conservative issue on approach to climate change than, say, a Labor candidate?
I can say from my experience in our electorate here, when people are presented with these two parties, it's like a Holden and Ford debate. People say, well, I like this one, but going to the other one's too far. The exciting thing about independence is it's giving people a real choice now, so that they don't have to go to this party that's somehow demonised one way or the other. They can actually make their own choice.
You can always ring in 1300 222 891. A local resident has called in. Joanna Wells. Hi, Joanna. What's your view of an independent voice
Jules.
for Boothby?
Oh, look, I think independent voices are really important. There's a real appetite for that change, and there's a lot of dissatisfaction at the moment. So people feel that, yes, their local representative listens to them, but then goes and votes along party lines.
So are you a member of Voices for Boothby, Joanna?
I was until recently, yes.
Yes. And why do you think you're not listened to?
Oh, it's not necessarily that we're not listened to. I think a lot of the time we are listened to, but party lines are followed. There's people, MPs aligned with the party don't have the liberty to vote to truly represent their electorate in Parliament.
But if an independent candidate was elected and, it was a hung parliament, at some stage they are going to have to support one policy or one party over another, Joanna, aren't they?
They are, but they'll always be able to do that through consultation with the electorate at that time on that particular policy. It's not one of those things where they'll always vote with the government. They'll work with the government and work with those other members of Parliament to get the best possible results for the community.
Joanna Wells, thank you for your comments. Well, we'll await with great interest as to who the Voices of Boothby candidate will be. As I said, they're not going to they're not a political party, but they're going to endorse an independent candidate for Boothby. And look, that's going to be a significant announcement, looking at how many female independents have challenged quite strongly in former Liberal seats. So we'll find out who that is later next week.